We're going to start looking at observational drawing now, and the first thing we're going to look at is using grids. Grids are used by artists worldwide, all over the place, and it's a really good way of actually looking at proportions and making sure that you've got everything where it needs to be, really. So the easiest way to do this is using a photograph to start with anyway, and a lot of artists actually use photographs. They take photos of what's in front of them and they'll use that to create a grid to work from. So this one here, if I can show you this, is one I've sort of done before, and this is just a black and white image, and sometimes that's the easiest way to start because you're not then distracted by colours and other things that are going on and tones and that sort of thing. So what you need to do is create a grid first of all. The grid doesn't have to be any specific size, but you don't want it too small because otherwise it will just make it quite complicated to put all the detail in. And once you've decided on your image, you can draw a grid over the top to make sure it's what you want, and then you need to actually transfer the grid onto the next page, and then you'll start drawing it. So what you do is you look at what's in each square and then you'll start drawing that from there. So first of all, you'll need some tracing paper as well. So choose your image, and this time I've gone for some bees on some thistles, which I thought could be quite nice, but these are actually in colour. So if you find it easier in black and white, just select a black and white image to start with. Once you've selected that, then you need some tracing paper, and I've done quite big squares here, and then you place your tracing paper over the top of the image and then you draw your grid out. So mine are probably inch squares, so that was probably the easiest way to do it. In fact, I've used the ruler to replicate this. So if you have a look at this, I've actually simply used the ruler to create my squares. So you don't have to do anything that's really intricate or mathematical. It really doesn't matter. When you've done that, the next thing to do is to actually duplicate that onto the next page. So draw your squares out, and then you turn the tracing paper over, and you might have done this before, and then you use a soft pencil, because if you use a soft pencil it's much easier to actually get the marks onto the paper, and then turn the ruler around and draw the grid in the other direction. So this doesn't take very long really. As I say, it's just a great way of working. I think you can probably get an app where you could do this automatically online, which would speed up the process and make things a lot quicker. But you don't have to do that. And once you've got your grid, let's just see, I've just got a couple more lines here that need adding in. Oops. Once you've got your grid, of course, you can use them over and over again. So that's really handy. I'll just lay that down there. And I'm just going to go over my lines now, just to make sure that they're strong enough for me to see. Having said that, you don't want the lines to be so heavy. So if for example, if you use a hard pencil, it's really hard to erase those lines, to get rid of them, to rub them out. So if you use a soft pencil, it's much easier to do that. And this is why we often use soft pencils for things like this. And the other time that we use soft pencil is if we're doing a painting, especially with acrylics, and you want to sketch a painting out first, but then you want to get rid of the pencil marks. They tend to disappear because the pencil's so soft. And these are all things to bear in mind really. So once you've done that, you've got your grid, and the next thing you're going to do is you're going to start drawing this out. So you can place your grid over the top, and you could put a piece of tape on there, or maybe just a bit of glue to hold it in place. So I'm just going to put a little bit of Pritt stick on there, but I'm not going to use a lot because sometimes it's so strong that it's really hard to remove it afterwards, so I don't want a lot on there. So just a bit, just to hold it in place. And then if I lift that up, you can see that it's over the top of the image. And the next thing you're going to do is, you can start wherever you want to, but I find it's probably better to start in the top left hand corner. It could be the right hand corner, it really doesn't matter. And then look at what's inside each square and then draw that out and copy it as best you can into that square. So we'll start, I'm in the top right hand corner. I'm going to go for a different pencil actually that's not quite so soft. So this is a 4B, the other one I think was an 8B. So you could go for a slightly harder pencil than that. So have a look at what's in the square and then start drawing what you can see, and just draw the outline. Don't worry about the shading at this point. It's really about just getting the outline down and keeping it as exact as you possibly can. So let's have a look at this. So it's quite small, this, quite delicate. Then once you've got a few lines down, just keep going. You might want to sort of sit back every now and again and just have a look and make sure you've got the lines in the right place. Just check, because sometimes you can get so intense in what you're doing in your drawing that you don't really realise. And the other thing that we're going to talk about are negative spaces, and we'll talk about this again later on when we do some more observational drawing. But think about, for example, the spaces in between the drawing. So they're the negative spaces, and you can look at those like they're shapes, not as though they're just space in the middle of nowhere, but look at the shape that they form in between the bee and the thistle, and that helps you to get it into proportion as well. So have a go at that and see how you get on, and then once you've done that, you can take that away and you can start using colour. You might want to have a go with using some coloured pencils this time for something a bit different. Maybe have a go at using some watercolour pencils. That would be great. Thank you.